62 bra 166 10 3000.
Roland Emmerich, the undisputed master of the schlocky disaster film. Never has the end of the world been more popcorn-fueled fun. Except for that time Michael Bay did it. Sorry, Mimi Letter, your twin film didn't come close. But this isn't a review of Roland Emmerich's catalog of disaster films, although they certainly are entertaining. This is more of an examination of his films. This is the horrifying implications of Roland Emmerich's films. Now, this video will be discussing the major plot points of Independence Day, The Day After Tomorrow, 2012, and Moonfall. So this is your obligatory spoiler warning. Oh heck, it's an examination of the literal post-credits world of these films. So of course I'm going to spoil the endings. Let's start where my love of Roland Emmerich's hilariously bad but actually really good disaster movies began. Independence Day. Ah, good old 1996. 11-year-old me couldn't wait to see this movie in theaters. You had Bill Pullman, aka Lone Star, who was president, and the two men to save humanity were Dr. Ian Malcolm and the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, aka Mike Lowry.
Mike Lowry. No, easy. Mike Lowry.
Or as the younger generation would know, the dude who slapped Chris Rock. The plot is simple. Aliens come, they want to destroy the Earth, and it's up to humanity to fight back and stop this from happening. In the end, the good guys win, everyone throws a party, and Will Smith tells his son,
"Didn't I promise you fireworks?"
All's well that ends well, right? Not so fast. From what we saw, dozens of major cities have been completely destroyed. New York, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., Houston. Okay, that one was us. Moscow, London, Paris, probably Colorado Springs.
Sir, they've taken out NORAD.
And who knows how many others. Oh wait, the wiki says 108 cities in total. Well, also according to the Independence Day wiki, and yes, that is a thing, 3 billion people died. In 1996 terms, that's over half of the world's population. Dead. And not just regular dead, murdered by genocidal aliens who literally destroy entire cities with very powerful space lasers. With the exception of the president and some of his staff and senior military leadership, the entire US government has been decapitated. You certainly don't rebuild that overnight, and you certainly don't rebuild entire cities very quickly. And we're not going to talk about how everything is seemingly completely rebuilt in the awful sequel that takes place just 20 years later. They can't even fix a road near my house in under 5 years, much less the entire DC cityscape in 20. The extent of destruction, globally after the aliens were defeated, would take decades to overcome. Not to mention the complete rebuilding of infrastructure needed. And that's assuming that everyone else got the memo on how to defeat them, which is no guarantee it happened within a few days. Some areas lack any air power to take down the alien ships, even when their shields are down. Now, the horror scape resulting from Independence Day is pretty awful, and I would argue probably a little bit worse overall than the next Roland Emmerich disaster. Climate change. I mean, The Day After Tomorrow. Ironically, this film came out before Al Gore's climate piece, but it certainly strays pretty far from science in its premise. Basically, something climate change is going to cause an ice age, and it's up to scientist Dennis Quaid to warn everybody before it's too late. The astronauts on the space station notice 3 supermassive storms, and yet somehow the eye of these storms brings super cold temperatures that instantly freeze things like Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat. This really quick climate change that's ludicrously impossible turns most of North America into a frozen tundra, and people have to evacuate to Mexico in order to survive. That's it. That's the plot in the most broad strokes way I can muster. The stakes in this one are not nearly as dire as Independence Day, but they are pretty difficult to recover from. Essentially, moving the temperate zone south several degrees of latitude is pretty consequential, considering that a large amount of people live north of Atlanta, where pretty much the ice dividing line is shown in the film. Not saying people couldn't survive. But it would be difficult, and the mass migration of millions of people into what is essentially a third world country is going to create some problems, not just logistically, but also in terms of breeding some pretty severe conflict. Those who survive the rapid freeze, I'm sorry, that part is just absolutely hilarious and not based in any reality whatsoever, which is what makes the movie so comical and fun. But those who survive that now have to either adapt or migrate. According to the list of deaths wiki, yes, also a thing, 12.7 million people died the day after tomorrow. Not quite as high as the 3 billion from Independence Day, but still a pretty substantial casualty count that would forever change the landscape of the world within the Neo-Ice Age. Now, between aliens and the climate, things really can't get much worse for humanity, can they? Oh yes, yes they can. Cashing in on the hype from the Mayan calendar apocalypse theories, Emmerich's 2009 entry into the disaster genre takes it to an entirely new level. 2012. Not shying away from the fantastical and staying in the unscientific realm of absurdity, 2012 spells doom for the Earth by explaining that a new kind of neutrino from a solar flare is causing the core to heat up, cooking the planet from the inside out.
They're heating up the Earth's core. They suddenly act like microwaves.
Just like a Hot Pocket in your microwave. Throw in some Earth crust displacement theory. Yes, this is an actual theory. Presented by, not Alex Jones, conspiracy theorist Woody Harrelson. And somehow tie this into the 2012 end of the world prediction in the Mayan calendar, and we have yet another great disaster film. For some reason, the story is told through the eyes of limo driver / sci-fi author John Cusack. So how does the world really end this time? Emmerich throws everything at the wall and somehow makes it all stick. A 10.9 magnitude earthquake destroys the American West Coast, and admit it, it was kind of cool to see Los Angeles slip into the Pacific. Then, the Yellowstone caldera supervolcano erupts. Also, the plate shift making for a nice deus ex machina to enable our protagonists to fly an AN-225 from Las Vegas to the Himalayas, where they somehow miraculously meet up with a secret ARC project that will save only a select number, not specified, of survivors from the impending mega tsunami. And then miraculously, the entire continent of Africa is the only inhabitable place on Earth. Whoopee! Roll credits. Except that the list of deaths wiki tells a much more grim tale. Sure, Cusack and his ex-wife Amanda Peet and their children all survive, which is more than we can say for the 6 billion people that were wiped out by this version of Armageddon. Almost the entire species gone. And they're left to rebuild in Africa. Basically a complete restart to humanity. But thankfully, they've selected some of the best and brightest people to rebuild civilization. Which is more than we can say for the final entry on this list. Moonfall. Moonfall is the latest of Emmerich's disaster films, and it came out in 2022, even though it feels like it came out in the early 2010s. The plot is less natural disaster like the previous two, and more similar, but in much larger scale, to Independence Day. Stay with me here. The moon is out of orbit, as discovered by Samwell Tarly from Game of Thrones, who really is a very interesting and endearing character you really can't bring yourself to hate. But the moon is on a collision course with Earth, and it's up to Patrick Wilson and Halle Berry to save the day. Wait, what? Oh yeah. The moon is actually a Dyson sphere that was knocked out of orbit by an evil AI nanomachine swarm made by ancient humans that existed billions of years ago, and the moon is the last surviving Dyson sphere, which pretty much created all life on Earth, and yeah, I got a little taken back here too. Anyway, this evil AI, instead of destroying humanity the old-fashioned way, with lasers, nukes, or whatever the hell that was in the remake of The Day the Earth Stood Still, just decides to send the moon to the Earth to wipe out all human life, because humans bad. It's cliche, but it's really a fun disaster movie. In the end, the heroes save the day. Sam Tarly gets to sacrifice himself and finish out his They all thought I was crazy, but I was right all along character arc, and everyone lives happily ever after. Except for the fact that the moon literally grazed the Earth as its orbit deteriorated to within feet of the surface, to the point that it destroyed mountains, caused insane gravitational effects, and dragged some of the atmosphere away from the surface. But there's no way to know how many were killed. We can guess it's somewhere around almost everyone, as pieces of the moon collided with Earth, and would probably continue to do so for months, if not years, until the immense gravity of the white dwarf star at the center of the moon grabbed up all the floating debris and deposited it back on the surface of the moon. But I digress. Rebuilding humanity would probably be much harder, considering the survivors didn't have an ark or some other neat plot device to save them, and they had very little time to prepare for this disaster. And where are you going to go when the moon is tearing up cities with its gravity? At this point, the Earth being destroyed by the moon colliding with it might have been the better option, but still fun. So, there you have it, the horrifying implications of Roland Emmerich's disaster films. All of these movies are good fun, and interesting writing to see how our world could end if we just suspend disbelief for a few hours. I hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.